Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Creighton Show. Another exciting show and definitely another exciting guest. Today we're going to talk with a young lady, Angela Alley, who's been taking the social media by storm with something that I like and I think everybody likes food, but not just any type of food. We're talking about healthy eating. And what's so inspirational about this young lady? She came from Wyoming. She went to California. She's back in Wyoming with a whole different mission. And that mission is to educate and empower and bring us back to the family table, understanding how food can cultivate, how it can really bring enjoyment to you, especially when you're doing it with family and friends. You know, I like to eat my wings watching the Dallas Cowboy games and the
Oh,
Miami
no.
Hurricane games, or just by myself. So without further ado, let's welcome to the show, Miss Angela Alley. How you doing, baby girl?
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you reaching out to us, Andre. It's such a pleasure to meet you, and we really thank you for the opportunity. I'm doing good. My sister giggled. She is Evie on the side.
Yeah.
She's a Cowboys fan as well, and I am a Steelers fan.
Well,
So that is a lot of our battle. So I was very excited. That made me laugh.
hey, tell your sister, Cowboy Nation, baby.
Yes, sir.
It's funny.
Absolutely.
It's funny. My best friend Edward, he's a Pittsburgh Steeler fanatic fan, and I had the pleasure last season to go when they played the Coast, and we literally sat behind the bench at the Coast game, and that's when you guys had Justin Fields
Fields.
and
Yeah.
the other guy, and it was
He's
kind
a
of cool to see Mike Tomlin on the side, man. I mean, that's a cool brother, man. He doesn't seem like he lets anything gets to him, even in a football game. You know what I'm saying? But
So
at
we
the
have
end
the
of the
same
day,
birthday,
yeah. But at the
Mike
end of the
Tomlin.
day, you remember, Angela, you heard this from me, and your sister would tell you, Cowboy Nation rules, baby.
I don't fight or argue over that unless they're playing each other.
So let's get right down to your
Absolutely.
beautiful story. Tell the viewers a little bit about you.
I was raised here in Wyoming for a portion of time. We have always been kind of a round family. We moved to California and lived kind of a California experience. It's very interesting the dynamic of being from a very small town, moving to major cities. So I think that in itself gave me a really global perspective of different lifestyles. We were very successful in different fields in California. And when the need came for us to move back to Wyoming, we really made that decision in a very short few days. So through life, I think I've always been a balance of that country and city, and how do you maneuver through different situations and life. You know, successes or obstacles by being able to understand like how the world works and different dynamics. And I think that is part of the reason why I've been able to really grow and to be able to reach people through food.
What was the culture shock for you going from Wyoming to California? And I shared with you off camera, you and your sister. Wyoming is not a place that you see commercials that say, "Hey, come to Wyoming and see what's
So
going
true.
on." So when you went there to California, what was the shocking things that were different from being from a small area in Wyoming?
I think diversity was the biggest thing. That was the shock. I used to travel places, and I'd be so nosy because I hadn't seen, certain, ethnic backgrounds, hadn't experienced certain foods. And so I think the diversity in all the things that were available, from shops to food to people to different cultures, different languages. I think that was probably the thing that was the most interesting to learn when we transitioned out to California.
I think more of the culture shock was coming from California back to Wyoming. You want to
Absolutely.
speak to that?
So
Yeah.
when you have lived, I lived in the Bay Area. Evie lived in the Sacramento area, and so those are very metropolitan areas. So to move back to a town that has 10,000 people, it has the only Walmart in 176 miles. If I want to go to TJ Maxx, I got to drive 2.5 hours. So when you're so accustomed to being able to drive right down the street and go to a Mexican market to get your supplies for, a burrito night, those are things we actually have to ship in. So I can't have burrito night for like 7 days.
So my question here for you and your sister, what even took you to California to begin with? You got 50 states. I mean, why California when you could have went, because you're in the food industry now, you could have went to Taste of Chicago. You could have came to beautiful Indianapolis, Indiana. You could have went to Florida. There's tons of cultural experiences that you could have got. But what led you specifically to California?
Family opportunities for jobs.
Mm.
So we moved with our parents
Hmm.
to California. So it wasn't a choice. We weren't adults moving to California and choosing California as a home. So it was based on family job opportunities.
What was it like growing up in Wyoming? I mean, you're the first person I've ever met or even talked to that's from Wyoming. What's it like there? I mean, I see cow. The closest I get to Wyoming, believe it or not, is watching a Clint Eastwood movie or Tombstone or some stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
I would say it's a slower way of life. There's a lot of different types of the things that you can do in the community. I mean, you still have like all of your sports growing up. You still have all of the things that you would have in a bigger city. They may not be as diverse, but there are opportunities for you to, do sports, to do things that are creative. There are a lot of, um, I would say, it's just on a much smaller scale.
It's really family oriented. And I
Right.
think that's why her social media and TikTok has really taken off, is because you spend a lot of time with your family. The family dynamic is so important out here.
When you,
We, oh,
I'm
go
gonna ask
ahead.
this question real quick. I didn't mean to cut you off. You mentioned it's not as diverse there.
Mhm.
Elaborate a little bit more on that.
So I would say that if you were to look at the population in general, people of color or mixed ethnicities is 1.2%. Um, then we live on the Wind River Reservation, so that is the Shoshone and Arapaho tribes. It's a 22 million acre reservation. So the predominant is going to be Caucasian or either Native American. When we talk about diversity, we're talking about other cultures outside of those two main ones.
Let's go deeper here. How do I'm trying to think of the right way to put this? Because you're on a reservation, what are the advantages and disadvantages? You own your land, it's tribal inheritance, you know. Um, but
Well, I
what's that
would
like?
like I would like to say that we are not of the Arapaho or Shoshone tribe.
Okay,
We would be considered non-native. Our ethnic background is Caucasian and Black for the most part.
right.
So there are for us no additional benefits other than being inspired by some of the cultural things that happen in different seasons, some of their celebrations, the spirit of the reservation. So we don't necessarily have any really benefit. other than being able to be inspired by the people that live near and around the reservation.
I didn't even know that individuals could live on a reservation that was not part of the actual, tribe or nationality or anything like that. Once again, you're educating not only me but the
I love
public.
it.
I had no idea. This is what I mean by media. Media portrays it as, and then more importantly, we don't. Let me see. I'm gonna put this the right word. Where does it come out politically incorrect? A lot of individuals that are on these reservations do not go on public out in public like podcasts and basically explain the lifestyle. So this is the first time I even heard that you can actually live with Native Americans on their land or whatever. What's that? What that has to be an enjoyable experience. Like you said, you get to share everything that they're doing, the culture and so forth.
And there's a lot of politics with that through the years. So it's not a wide open policy.
Mhm.
There's a little bit of animosity in some parts of that. So it's a real deep dive into living on the reservation and that type of thing.
What do you mean when you say animosity? What animosity with who? The people who don't like the way that the politics have changed, or what?
Correct. So over the years, hundreds of years, certain parts of the land have been provided to the natives, and then that has been taken away because of, especially in this area, mining and
Mhm.
mining rights. So there's a lot of politics and a lot of animosity around the reservation and what they've been allowed and what has been taken away. So that's a whole nother conversation in regards to the reservation.
So
So I
what
would
made you guys
also
decide to live on the what made you guys, I didn't mean to cut you off. What made you guys decide to live on the reservation?
we didn't decide. This is our family is from here. We have generations of alleys out here on the reservation. We were born here. Um, what originally drew the alley family here was the opportunity to mine uranium. They moved from Montana, and based on lack of work in Montana, moved here to Wyoming and started mining uranium. In fact, all of our uncles and most of our family at one point until 1985 were uranium miners.
Your story's starting to sound like Yellowstone. You know that, right?
Well, we are from Wyoming. There is some definite truth in it.
Yeah. So,
I would like to revisit a little bit about the dynamic on the reservation and living on and off the
yeah,
reservation.
yeah. Go ahead. What's that like?
So the reservation is like I said, 22 million acres, but there is federal land, there is state land, and there is public land within the reservation. So currently, I live in a town that is not considered reservation sanctity. So the town that I live in is public land. And what happened and how that was established when it started was a 100-year lease. So the government came in and said, hey, we want to lease this property because we have found precious metals. We live in a boom town. You'll see the population fluctuate from 6,000 to 10,000 based on what is found here. Um, at one point, we were producing oil. At one point, we were producing uranium. At one point, the casino rights started. So you would see people come to our town for those job opportunities. And then when those job opportunities diminished, then you would see people leave.
Mhm. How was the economy there now?
I would say that we are, if you were to do a analysis of all population here, it is economically depressed.
Let's keep going. Let me go down this rabbit hole for a minute.
This is not why I was brought. I'm
Let's,
glad I know the stuff.
let's go down this rabbit hole a little bit. You have family generation there of
Mhm.
alleys. you
Mhm.
go outside of that norm to visit other areas and come back with all kind of knowledge, uh, all kind of great experiences, but you
Mhm.
want to bring your idea of food back to the town. But my question here is, if it's struggling and it's like a yo-yo syndrome based on minerals and stuff being found in the city, how is how are you going to change the narrative with the power of food in your book coming out, which we'll talk about later?
I'm gonna divert to Evie to start that answer.
Okay.
I it's that is just such a great question. And the beauty of it is where we are with technology, the internet, this podcast, she can build a business anywhere. So
Hmm.
she can touch people internationally with food based out of central Wyoming and bring that diversity and spread it over the internet. And that's you're a part of that and this podcast is a part of that.
I
Now
think
let's do something real quick because I know the viewers are like, why isn't she on the camera? So tell
Yes.
me a little bit about your sister real quick before we answer that question. So tell the viewers why she's off of the camera and your role and how important she is to your mission and the mission altogether. That way they're not going, okay, we hear a voice, but we
well,
don't understand
it's
what's going on.
so to kind of that blends right into how social media has really impacted me being introduced to the food industry. I have wanted to be in the food industry pretty much all my life since I was 4 or 5. I have loved to cook, experimented with cooking, and Evie, she is my older sister, and she literally has been the holder of my heart since I was a child. She was the one who read to me as a child. She was the one who supported me when, things weren't going well. She was the one who said, "You can do it." And that has lasted 40 plus years. And so as I transition, each milestone that I've accomplished, she has always been the one, whether we've lived together or apart, hours apart, states apart. She is always the person who is like, Angela, go live your dream. Um, she is not in a place where she wants to be on social media, but she wants to be a supporter of her sister because she believes in the dream. And so we were trying to figure out, like, how do we combine that love that we have for each other, the support that we have, and kind of the anomaly of us being so supportive of each other in all of our dreams,
Mhm.
that she was like, I'll do it and I'll be your moderator on TikTok. We are 14 live episodes in, and we have people that came started from our very first live that are in our live 2 hours twice a week engaging based on the fact of our silliness, our talking to each other, her moderating, welcoming people in. Like,
Yeah.
we are essentially welcoming people into my kitchen and into our lives and our living room. Like, and they get to see, and it's a little mystique. I think sometimes, like, people are like, they're so interested. We sound so much alike, we laugh alike, we also
Yeah.
say things almost at the exact same time.
Mhm.
So it's much like almost an echo. But the reason why she is here and off camera is she doesn't want to be a social media influencer or
Right.
presence,
Right.
but she's absolutely my biggest supporter.
Man,
Hey, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all
I
about.
just I just wanted to add two things to that. In the idea, I noticed when on TikTok, when people started being a live creator, there were two issues. One, they didn't have a support system or someone to talk to in their live. So they're looking at the phone and they're just kind of making up stuff, trying to be engaging to bring in people from like the FYP. And I was like, okay, so one way that we combat that is she actually has someone that she can have a conversation with, whether there's viewers or not. So she's engaging 100% of the time. And then also, a lot of live creators don't have ongoing content. And because she's cooking, she has continual content. And then she has someone that is able to tell her all the comments from her viewers and followers. So she's able to do both at the same time just because I'm able to moderate and read that information to her. So I felt like we overcame two challenges immediately from the beginning of starting those lives.
I am so glad that you shared that, because that's one thing that we do on this platform is we provide quality educational and entertainment programming. And that's something that I think you viewers need to really listen to what she just said. It's not all about trying to be in front of a camera. You got to have something, a purpose for doing it. And I like the way you guys are doing that thing. And more importantly, I like the way that you're still showing the attachment of family, the attachment of inspiring each other's dreams to move on, no matter where you're at. But let me go back to your sister for a minute. What was it you've been overseeing Angela since birth? So it's two-part question. What were some of the struggles that you seen her go through? And then to go back to you, what are some of the things that you want for yourself through this journey?
Oh, what a great question. I think one of the biggest struggles was her not seeing her value,
Mhm.
that she was so generous and so giving, and she's been in so many different industries and put so much of herself in people and industries, but not getting that in return.
Mhm.
No, not that enjoyment and this beautiful joy that she has when she's cooking. She wasn't getting that enjoyment through work and through relationships.
Mhm.
And so I feel now, because we're able to be here together, she has that, I don't know, maybe like a sense of empowerment,
Right,
and she's not as risk adverse to kind of go into this because she's feeling supported.
right.
I'm
Now,
sorry, what was the second question?
the second question is, what about yourself? Like, what are what are your ambitions out of all this? Like, um, you guys are almost attached by the hip. Let's call it what it is.
Agree. I totally
So,
agree.
what is your end game for yourself through this mission?
Great question. So the reason she's even out here in central Wyoming is because of me and my husband and my kids. We wanted that slower paced life and be here for our father. So her being here is because of this family dynamic. We wanted that slower pace so that we could do a homestead and grow fresh vegetables. I homeschool my kids. And so her being here is also supporting me already in my dreams.
Mhm.
So eventually, what I'd like to do is have her be actually utilizing produce that I grow for her. And she's showing these beautiful products, microgreens, that type of thing in her cooking is what my end game is.
I think that is so great. It's so funny how the universe works. I was just talking
Ah,
to some friends of mine. I was like, I want to move somewhere and grow my own vegetables. I
mm-hmm.
want to know what is. We have lost, and I guess it's the beautiful part about you guys being in Wyoming. Because in the big city, you don't really get a chance to think about those things. It's go to the stores, get this, is get this, is get this. But what a thrill to grow your own vegetables, or go, have some livestock, and then go in the house and really
Mhm.
create what
Yeah.
you just grew, or, from Mother Earth. Wow, what a I'm getting lost in emotion here.
Oh.
Uh,
It is, I would say that we have always had um, country roots.
Hmm.
So even when we lived in the city, we grew produce. We wanted these things. I had a turtle and tortoise rescue for 18 years. So like we've always had kind of that homegrown spirit, even some of that native spirit where we give back to the earth and to the land and to our families. So to be back here and to be able to get away from that daily grind and to reset when Evie told me she was moving back to Wyoming, I was like, bet I'm there. Because I was tired of the grind. In my day life, I'm the director of human resources.
mhm.
And so I have 20 years been in human resources, where it's really the hub of taking in a lot of the business toxicity, trying to support your employees and combating and trying to say, like, this is what our employees need, but this is also the business need.
Right.
So I still am a director of human resources out here for a company out here. So I'm still in that grind. But then I get the time to unwind with my family. I get to reset and we get to start building on some of the goals that we have that I think that will make us joyful and more prosperous and more able to feel like we are able to self-sustain without having some of those external influences.
Do you think the reason that society, this is a two-part question,
Okay.
do you think a reason why people are less likely to jump into that ocean with you is for the fact that comfortability with a 9 to 5 is a lot better than taking 9 to 5 and investing it in yourself? The second
I,
question I got for you is, you learned a lot from the Native American community. What were some of the things that changed you to to do what you're about to do now? Because you're leaving corporate America pretty soon. You
I'm
know, let's
hoping.
call it what it is. So, what was those things, and what do you think made that shift, and why are people so complicit in their way of thinking and not willing to jump like you did into their own passion?
You were really shaking your head on the first question.
I love that question. I just think it's natural for us to avoid risk. I think it's innate in human nature to stick with a routine, be comfortable, and um, not try and go out of the, push the envelope. I don't think it's natural for people to want to risk when they're comfortable. And if you don't have a support system or not or knowledge, we're coming out here. We own chickens in California. We grew vegetables. So we kind of did that in a small way in California. So we don't feel as much risk because we've exposed ourselves to it a little bit. But if someone has never grown anything, and we're in central Wyoming where water is an issue and those type of things. So it's not as easy to grow in Wyoming as it was in California. But I think ultimately I don't believe it's in our nature to risk anything. We want to stay comfortable.
And I would say for me, although being educated, going to school, reaching executive levels, like a lot of times your daily grind, you're so accustomed to that income that you are like, you live to your income for the most part. If you're under a certain wage, like you get an increase, you all of a sudden your expenses increase, right? Like people have not set up themselves a buffer for them to be able to decrease and go and venture out. That has always been one of my challenges is that, you know, when you're living in a society where it's go, 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 push, what do you have? An apartment is $3,500 a month. Your bills are a certain thing. Like you're really just living for your home. And so coming back here is really that like I spend more money on food than I do my house note a month. Like, so you have to realize that some of that is really a mental adjustment and
Right.
adjusting how you want to live. I can tell you that I'm more satisfied here in my little 1932 home than I was in California in a kind of modern apartment.
Mhm.
Um, it br- it breeds so much more satisfaction being able to wake up and be like, man, I can breathe today. The other thing for me is that because I'm a home cook and because I've been cooking since I was little and not professionally trained, um, there was a bit of imposter syndrome. I have had people for 20, 30, no, almost 30 years now.
You're dating yourself.
I'm dating myself. I would say since my MySpace days. But have told me like your food is beautiful, like your quality is beautiful. I've been posting food since at least 2009, the very, very beginning of Facebook. And I have had people that I've never even met, um, that have been with me on this journey for 18 years, who
Wow.
said, who have said, Angela, get out there and do it. Like, I have one person I've never met 11 years ago challenged me to apply for the Food Network. You know, I got on the Food Network.
Well,
I didn't the episode, was not aired, but I got all the way up. I did all of the stuff. And then life happened. And so now I'm so grateful for the fact that I have the support that I didn't have back in that time, for if I was to get those opportunities again,
yeah.
that I would be able to say, "Hey, like, my sissy's got it. Like, she's gonna help me figure it out." And I think so between imposter syndrome, and the lack of support is why it's taken me so long to get to this point.
Let's go. I like the way you said it. Thank you for sharing that.
You're
Let's
welcome.
go back to something even more deeper. You had to learn something from the people that surround you, which is the tribal nation.
Mhm.
What was three things that impacted you that they share with you? Because to me that's privileged information. That's like gold. you know the close knitness, the spirituality, the fact that they're so closely related to nature. What are three things you took away from being in that environment?
I think the hardest part is that over the years and generations, um, a lot of innately what they were doing in the 1800s has been taken away from them. So we are getting a watered down version of what their true life was prior to being put on a reservation. But what I have learned is that, um, they really are about giving back, to the earth. They have a very high level of spirituality, that they, are able to build certain aspects in their community, that are very different, types of relationships that then you see here, even in the town that we are in. I also they have such a great legacy, and learning their legacy and learning their trials, which a lot of times it's very hard because they've had a lot of negative experiences, whether it's with the government, whether it's how they received the reservation land, how they've taken reservation land has been taken, but they
Mhm.
still continue to push forward. So there are a lot of different things that I have learned. One about the spiritual aspect of how they live life, the giving back, to the earth, and then how they've persevered through all of those challenges.
I think something for me is the tradition. A lot of traditions are passed on. And
Mhm.
for Angela and I being biracial, we weren't really raised with a lot of innate family traditions. And I
Mhm.
think that's one of the things we're trying to initiate with my children is to create these family traditions, this family dynamic, this family environment. And it's
Mhm.
so amazing that my kids get to see TT streaming and that they get to this is another aspiration that they could pursue and they're seeing it live, her cooking for them, seeing her stream live as another aspect, another it's a family tradition for us right now. So that's kind of something I take from the natives.
And it's so funny, and you're right. We as people of color, we really don't have tradition.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's a fear factor. I don't know if it's. I don't have the answer to that. But it's really really sad when you sit down and you talk with the tribal leaders and the people there. Like, what are some of the things that they share with you that you look and you now when they share their story, you begin to cross reference? Like, what are some of the things that you look at your life now and go, I'm really appreciative, that I'm where I'm at today because they're still struggling on their end. You know what I mean? There's always a yin and a yang with a situation. What was that like for you, to being in that situation with Native Americans?
I would say I have never had the opportunity to sit down with any of the tribal leaders. That is more of my dad's generation, and my dad had focused on tribal rights when he was a veteran. He's now done some legal work for the tribal affairs, and that's more of like my dad's generation. They're more of the generation that he was able to have those conversations with the tribal leaders. What I can take away from the conversations that I have heard from my dad, so not necessarily directly from the tribal leaders, but somebody who innately knows and he calls him friend,
Mhm.
um, is that, you know, the the hardships that they're going to constantly turn those hardships into something that could be positive.
Mm,
They're going to take what they can and they are going to try and multiply it in the best way they can. Most recently, in a lot of reservations across the US, they're doing that by building casinos. And so we think, okay, you know, we see all of these native casinos, but what does that do? In California, the ones that are not on native land, that goes to the lotto. It's supposed to go to schools, but they only really pay 1.2% to schools,
mm,
right?
mhm,
So here, the casinos are generating revenue, it's employing tribal members, and it is doing some things that are actually a lot more beneficial for those that are on the reservation than it is in some other areas based on different dynamics. And so that's kind of a way that they've utilized things that have been changed and allowed to make it benefit them, even though it was prompted due to a challenge.
mm. Let's talk about your food.
Okay.
Let's talk about these great dishes that you're preparing with organic vegetables, organic everything. What are some of the what's the end game for all of this? You like cooking, you seeing everything manifest itself. What are I mean, this is the question I want to ask. What do you really like to cook when you're in the kitchen? What really makes you go, wow?
I will tell you that there's not a dish. I have an interior design degree. I was very precocious as a kid. Like I have been into all sorts of things. I was a big tomboy, so there was like I have experimented, played with, taken things apart. So mentally, I have a mind that just goes crazy. The thing that gratifies me the most is being able to create on the fly, create with what I have. My last live, I called it like the refrigerator clean out. And I really just showed them like what type of items were in my refrigerator and how in my mind I was able to create a really delicious meal. And so I like to educate. So we were doing a chili. So we were doing it from scratch. So I grabbed like a chili, the sauce thing and read that off and said, okay, these are the ingredients that are good, but this dextrose and this other stuff are not things that you necessarily want to take into your body. So I said, okay, how do we replace that?
Mhm.
So there's a bit of education in there. There's a um, trying to get people to feel like they're more equipped with one, the science, right, the health benefits, the allowing people to understand that you can get outside of the recipe and
Mhm.
really create memories in the kitchen
Right.
versus just a meal that's not satisfying because you're like, these are the steps that I took to take it. So for me, I think the end game is really um, creating a passion for food, showing people that you can really create memories, that it's supposed to be a sensory experience, that you first you eat with your nose first, then your eyes, right? those are the things. Like if you smell something burnt, you're going to be like, oh, I don't want that. If you smell bacon, you're going to be like, oh, I'm hungry. Right. So those are all of the things that I am trying to teach. The end goal is really to be able to inspire people about good food, health benefits, and to really enjoy the creativity of giving back to yourself. As a person in a table of one, for the most part, unless I'm having family dinner, I had to learn that food is also a give back in a form of self care. I used to only cook because family needed food, but now I'm the table for one. So it's important. I used to do for them, and then I'd be like, oh, I'm not going to cook for myself tonight. I have changed that since back here in Wyoming, as that I am self caring for myself the way that I would care for anyone else. And that was a really big transition for me.
Let me ask you a question. I completely understand the importance of healthy eating, but let's get
Mhm.
realistic here. How do we bring that message to the thank you for the download? This is where I'm about to go with this.
Okay. He sat back.
I'm a former professional bodybuilder and nutritionist, and I know I wrote my own nutrition manual. But
Yes.
throughout my years, what I realized is it's expensive. It
Mhm.
takes money to eat healthy, to eat clean. You're making a major impact right now with social media, but let's talk about a bigger impact with the importance of food and people. How do you resonate your method to mothers and families who are on a fixed budget? Is it is it is it sustainable to have your method or any type of method that involves clean, healthy eating when you don't have the financial resources? Is that possible? And do you have ways of teaching people how to do it?
So I will say that medicine costs more. Diabetes, sickness, all of those things in the long run are a cost as well.
Mhm,
So sometimes you have to weigh out the balance of short-term and long-term rewards and results.
mhm,
But there's absolutely a way where you can make it more sustainable. I have elaborate meals because that's my creative mind. We accept challenges on our live show. So usually I will have somebody in the chat who says like, "I want you to do vegan next time." I want you to do XYZ. So the next live, I do all of this research and preparation, or they'll give me a recipe that they want me to produce online so that they can see it being produced. Um, but it's all about one, we are a society that is pretty egregious when it comes to portion size. So not only are we talking about like making sure that you are understanding what full is, if you go to McDonald's, you're going to eat way more because it's empty food. I'm giving you something that's going to be more fulfilling, not only in your stomach, but mentally. You're going to be able to um, really be able to understand that some of the things that you're intaking now and in the future have long term implications. But even if, like, have you ever had a salad and you're like, man, this salad I just keep eating, but you can eat two burgers back to back?
yeah.
Have you ever had that experience?
Well, I'm not much of a salad guy. I'm a meat guy.
But
So I don't know
there,
if you're the right person to ask that question to.
but there's innately some things that make your body feel full, and there's a chemical part of that. And things are, it's known that there are certain products where they put addictive things in there so that you continue to eat,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
So if you're eliminating, and Evie has something to say, if you're eliminating some of those things and replacing them with things that are better, you're going to feel fuller and more sustained.
Mhm.
Evie also has.
Go
I
ahead.
think what I think my favorite part of her lives is she comes for me. So I'm not a chef. I'm a family of five. I have three young children that would love to just eat pizza and chicken nuggets. And my husband is like you, a meat eater.
Yeah.
And I think what I love about her lives is conceptually, she's got this just gorgeous meal that me looking at it and watching her prepare it, I feel like it's out of my league.
Right.
However, through the conversation, through our viewership and our engagement with our followers, we're able to talk through the meal and go, okay, so this is what you have in your fridge. This is how you can change it conceptually,
Mhm.
or through your budget, these are things that you could change.
Right.
And it's really about the conversation. So she's got this gorgeous presentation and this food theory that she does, but as the conversations proceed, she really breaks it down, and you learn not only little uh tips and tricks about like how to get gas out of beans, like a little bit of baking soda, but also how to replace things,
I
because
knew that.
I am budget conscious, where she's
Yeah.
not budget conscious. So it
Right.
really works. That conversation is very organic in the live.
We
Yeah.
talk about I do a lot of things from scratch,
Mhm.
and that's not everybody's life, right?
Mhm.
So then we will talk about products that can replace it that are ready made.
Yeah.
I talk about like, yes, I, gave the example of some of the things that are not the best for you in chili, but I didn't tell them not to use the chili powder. I'm just informing them on what those repercussions are for some of those things, but then I'm showing them how to make that chili powder without those things. So I give a lot of options. We have touched and reached all different ethnic backgrounds in my life. I mean, we got adopted and we are now part of an ohana. Like, so it's really nice because in the community, and the reason why the community is so important is because they're not afraid to ask those questions.
Yeah.
They're not afraid to say, "But Angela, this seems out of bounds," right? So the nice thing is Evie is moderating. I'm catching it real time, and I can address those questions in the middle of the live.
What has been, before we wrap up, what has
Yeah.
been at least three of the major concerns that people are having in your life as it relates to food, whether it be organic, whether it be them dealing with emotions? Like, what are some of the things that you thought that wouldn't be this difficult? You know what I mean? Like, or that food is really the answer to their problem?
Yeah, I think cost and time really affects people. What if they have the time to cook, and if they have time to purchase, or if they have the money to purchase the ingredients, would be my top two.
And
Hmm.
I would add to that the desire.
That's a good one.
People are like, how, why do you, why,
Why do you want to do that?
why is cooking a passion? I
Yes.
hate it.
Yes.
Um, and so I think we, in time, right, we are able to address some of those concerns. I love it when somebody inboxes me. In fact, it happened last night, and I was like, "Oh, you're doing a cooking live on Facebook," and he was like, "You inspired me." Um, and it was somebody who doesn't do it, and he literally was doing protein pancakes. um, those are the things that part of this community and part of our family sharing and creating community and family on social media is those little wins.
Yeah.
And so I think those are definitely the three main concerns. Um, that appear on the live. And then we always have those one-offs who are like, you didn't do anything soul food, you didn't do anything vegan.
Yeah.
Um, so, it's social media,
Yeah.
right? You have a little bit of everything. And the nice thing is as, she is seeing things real time.
Yeah.
She is able to like skip over the ones that are the most appropriate,
You know what?
and address the things that are.
You know what? I love to cook, and it trips females out. I love to cook. Actually, I was going to go to culinary arts school a little
Okay.
bit, but I didn't finish. But because I just couldn't get used to all the grease and all that
Oh,
stuff getting in my face. I was young, but I love to cook, and I used to tell my clients, another part of cooking is presentation.
Mhm.
And I'm really big on my cutlery. I like my my plates beautiful. I like my silverware great. I like my glasses because I think when you're making food, it's different when you're making food, but after the food is being made, after it's
Mhm.
all done, how is it being presented? Like, what's your take on that? Because I think people go to restaurants to get that experience, but they have to create that. I teach them, why not create that same experience in your house? What's your take on
That's her favorite part. That's her
what's that?
favorite part. Right up there with you.
So when you get a chance, you can pop onto my page, but um, because of all of the aspects of what I have done in my life to get to this point,
Yeah.
I believe that I am giving gifts to those that are eating.
Mm,
And part of giving that gift, right, the gift of flavor, the gift of texture, the smells and aromas, right, is what it looks like. You don't, for me, I can't give a present unless it's wrapped, right?
mhm.
Unless it's ready to be visually seen. And so for me, presentation is exactly me finalizing the gift and giving it to those that are at my table. And I do that for myself on a nightly basis as well. You are going to see that it's proportionate, it's clean. I've wiped my plate. Um there's no drips or spills. Like I've
Yeah.
got my greenery. So if and when you get the opportunity, my pages, social medias are full of basically me giving presents visually to either those that are here in my home or those that are online.
And those in her live, even if they're not able to stay the full hour and a half, 2 hours, they'll pop back in to see the
Yeah.
presentation.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a
Yeah.
presentation guy. Now, before we
Yeah.
wrap up, tell me about the
Mm.
book. You're in the process of writing a book. What's it about? How can the viewers get it? And how can they reach out to you and support you and understand what all the great gifts that you're providing to the world?
So the book is basically sensual cooking with Chef Angela, and it is a play on words. I believe in my food theory is that food should engage all of your senses. It's a nice walk the line because people are like, "Ooh, what does this mean?" But really, it's talking about like how do you engage all of your senses so that you are getting a really full experience. A lot of things that happen, like even with mental health, and people who are addicted to food, is because of the food that they're eating, right? And they're not feeling satisfied. They're still eating and eating and eating, and they're not dealing with that emotional ness. So when you are creating an aspect or a recipe, I want you to be really mindful of all of your senses. In my cookbook, it starts with kind of a scene. It gives you a music selection. It gives you an appetizer. It pairs it with a drink, and it gives you a scenario of what type of um, occasion that would go good for this. So a cozy night in winter weather, right? Uh, Salmon chowder, right, with a white wine, right, in a bread bowl, right, cozy night, right. This is the type of music. Some fire going, or put your YouTube on and have a fake fire, right. I'm giving people like experiences that I feel like we are missing as a society.
Mhm.
That can go from, I even put the time that it takes to cook the meal. So this is a 30-minute meal. I only have 30 minutes. What can I find? Right.
Mhm.
I can do this in an hour, or I could throw this in a crock pot, right? So it is separated in so many different fashions, so that people can get a full experience. So I have been working with my marketing person. I wanted to adjust some things because I want it to be as sensual as the food. So the cover and the paper wasn't working out for me. I want people to touch it. I want people to open it. I want people to see the bright, brilliant colors. I mean, so that's why there's a little bit of a delay in the publication of the book, but everything that I give is a gift. So I want the book to be a gift as well. I want people to value it like they value a coffee table book from, an artist of like Claude Monet. Like, I want it to be that aspect. And then I am also creating something that I'm calling a food journal or a food memoir. And it's giving people the opportunity to write the occasion, write the meal, write some music. So they're creating their own memories that they can then pass down. My biggest thing is we have lost a sense of community. And Evie and I were talking a couple lives ago. I was like, I've always wanted to be Big Mama. We didn't have a Big Mama, and I have always wanted to be that. And so I feel like I'm creating a Big Mama experience not only for my family, but for the people that have become family through social media.
It sounds like a winner. How can the viewers reach out to you and support you on social media? What's your handles?
So my webpage is authentically dash Angela. So I have several different things that I'm working on. I have also a streaming network that is going to be on Roku and everything that will start November 1st. And we don't have our call things yet, but we do have a station, so that will be coming out. Anytime you type in authentically Angela, is going to pull you up to any of the social medias, and then simply just my name, Angela A. Alley.
Now, I'm gonna ask your sister, does she have any final words for us? She's in the background.
Oh, you're putting me on the spot.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I would say just check us out on TikTok. That's where you'll see me or not see me actually. You'll hear me on TikTok, and I think that's a good introduction to what she does and her content. And we would love to grow our community there and actually talk with people.
Sounds like a winner. Ladies, thank you so much for taking time to come on the show. You guys make sure you subscribe, like, share, click a button. All it takes is one click to change the life of somebody, even to empower yourself. This has been another exciting episode of the Andre the Beast Creighton Show.